Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. So we're back at it again with another video filmed in my dining area. Partner's gone to sleep early. Hey, he needs the room. We only have the one bedroom, sadly, so it is what it is. The video I want to talk to you about today is actually based on an article that I've read as part of a different video that I was doing. You guys will remember a little while ago, I'd actually done a video on Abby Sharp, whom I have so many problems with Abby Sharp. I will probably be making another video on her. She just recently put one out, I think today, talking about Dr. Mike and whether or not Dr. Mike is fatphobic. And I actually have a lot of issues with that video as well. So probably maybe I won't have time to do it this week, but maybe like next week sometime. It might be a little bit of an old tea, but I think it's important to talk about it. And while I was talking about the video that she'd done before, where she was talking about not being apparently anti-diet culture and not being essentially body positive, I read this article that she was actually talking about, which called out her and people like her. Not by name so much, but still. And I had a lot of issues with this article. Now, I want to start off first by saying that in no way, shape, or form do I believe that fatphobia is a myth, right? Racism is very real. Fatphobia is very real. And if you happen to be at the cross section of two of those, being a woman of color and also somebody who is in a bigger body, you are going to experience a lot more negative effects of these two than somebody might otherwise. That being said, experiencing racism and experiencing fatphobia are two very, very different things. Experiencing sexism and experiencing fatphobia are different things. And the fact that a lot of body positivity advocates and fat activists like to link all of those things together, that they're all in and of itself the same thing, really upsets me. In my video that I had done about Abby Sharp, I talked a lot about how using the term straight-sized really upsets me by co-opting this word from the LGBTQIA plus community. It really does diminish what the meaning of that word is. Having one very clear-cut definition of what straight means and in which context helps shape the narrative around that word. By using it in something like body positivity, in fat activism, I understand you're trying to shape the narrative in a similar way, but you're also at the same time taking away from the power of that word as the community that created it intended. With all that said, let's get into it. The Unbearable Whiteness and Fatphobia of Anti-Diet Dietitians by Mikey Mercedes. These white female dietitians have helped steal and monetize the body positivity movement, and I am sick of it. In the midst of working on this essay, a fellow member of a Health at Every Size Facebook group posted about an encounter with a popular dietitian on Instagram. This dietitian had branded herself as an anti-diet dietitian and body positivity advocate. She had over 50K followers and sells courses on how to kick one's dieting habits at a cost of $250. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with dietitians offering their services, right? Dietetics is a legitimate field of study. Knowing how to nourish your body is extremely important, not just in health at every size ways where somebody is overweight and they're eating. But for example, when you're pregnant, you have different nutritional needs than when you are not pregnant. For example, you can't eat things like certain types of like deli meats and stuff like that. You can't eat raw fish. You can't have, they really advise against having non-pasteurized cheeses and milks. There's certain vitamins and nutrients that you have to take special care of. For example, folate, right? It can prevent, I think it's like neural tube defects, if I'm remembering correctly. But there are specific things that you can do to ensure better outcomes in certain situations. Diabetes, epilepsy, there's many situations, right? So dietetics is a legitimate field of study and it's a legitimate science. So having dietitians offer courses that can, help you eat better, help you live better, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I have told you guys before that I had a health complication in the past, and because of my health complication, I did gain weight. And I have been slowly trying to work it off. I actually consulted with a dietitian. She gave me some really nice, some pointed advice in how I can shape what I'm eating in a day-to-day way, how I can prep food better. And it's really helped me, not just with the weight loss stuff, but it's actually helped me just eat better, more well-rounded meals and incorporate as many nutrient-dense items in my meals as I can. So I'm not reliant on supplements, which is what I was doing before. I was very, very highly reliant on taking like iron supplements, which really upset my stomach. So having a dietitian offer a $250 course based on something that they have studied in school, based on something that they have registered for with the government, based on all of the information that they have available to them from the scientific realm, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, I would say I would not feel the same way about taking a course like that from someone who claims to be a nutritionist, because that's a very different title. Being a dietitian is not the same as being a nutritionist. There's very lax rules about what a nutritionist needs to qualify and all this and all that. So if you're gonna get health advice from anybody, once more, do it from a dietitian, preferably one who's talking directly to you and not just from a general random person on the internet. Still, a dietitian's advice is going to be a lot more effective and correct than a non-dietitian's advice is, even if it's not personally custom fitted, tailored, suited for you. So yes, I don't see anything inherently wrong with offering a course teaching people how to make better lifestyle choices and not, say, rely on fad diets to lose weight, keep the weight where it is, eat healthy, make sure you're eating nutritionally dense meals, just overall live a happy, healthy life. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because it's not your vision of ideal health doesn't mean it can't be somebody else's, and you don't get to dictate that for anybody. And if they're going to get their information, wouldn't you rather that they get it from somebody who knows what they're talking about than from yahoos on the internet, from randompeople.net? This group member politely commented on the dietitian's post to explain that their frequent posting of before and afters, complaining about being unable to celebrate her own weight loss, and pictures with stomach rolls, like the image above, contributes to the falsehood that fat bodies being before bodies and exacerbates the hypervisibility of privileged, straight-sized people in the body liberation movement. Her comments were deleted, and she was blocked. She then attempted to engage this dietitian through a private message from her main account in hopes that that would be more effective. She was sympathetic to the difficult task of owning up to one's privilege, but emphasized that one cannot be anti-diet without engaging with the body positivity as space for fat people. She received an incredibly hostile response in which the following and more occurred. The dietitian said that she is not causing harm, and if her journey harms you or anyone else, she is not the one that has internal work to do. The dietitian stated that she was trying to cultivate a peaceful space, and comments pointing out the problematic nature of her posts do not spark that. The dietitian claimed that researchers like her mentors in doctoral programs built this movement, not social justice warriors. And individuals who want her to check her privilege are taking things to a place where it divides people, and it's just not necessary or effective to get people to shift their views. This is not an anecdote, but the whole story. I can understand you being upset that having thin white women posting images of themselves to the body positivity space as RDs can be upsetting. That is understandable. But just saying, well, then don't post is not the answer. If your solution was, well, why aren't there more women of color? Why aren't there heavier women in this space? That's something that you could address. There's something that you could say, hey, maybe I want to encourage my daughter, my children, my friends' kids, my, kids that you're teaching if you're a teacher. Maybe I can encourage them to go into the dietetics field. But simply going up to somebody, whether it's metaphorically going up to somebody or actually going up to somebody and saying, hey, don't post because you're adding to the, hyper visualization of thin white women is ludicrous. No one should have to silence themselves so that another group can take their place, especially when they're talking about their own experiences. If I come on here and I talk to you about being a queer BIPOC women, talking about their experiences, then yeah, absolutely, tell me to shut the hell up. But if I come on here talking to you about being a woman of color with body dysmorphia, that's perfectly acceptable. Just because I am not 400 pounds and near immobility doesn't mean that I shouldn't get to talk about my experiences. Now, she says that the comments were blocked and deleted. I personally wouldn't do that. You guys know I leave pretty much all of my comments up there. The only ones I think I delete are those weird ones that are like linking to a timestamp and making like little banana gross emojis. They like weird me out. So I delete those because they look a little skeevy to me, and all their content is like more Pornhubby than YouTubey. So I delete those ones. But other than that, I leave all my comments up there, whether you are positive towards me, negative towards me, have critiques, criticisms, valid or invalid, whatever. I'm not going to delete it. So far, I haven't come across anything that I think deserve to be deleted. Now, of course, if you're in there calling somebody the N-word, probably going to delete you. But other than that, if you've got criticism, I don't care, right? But that's my prerogative. That's how I feel. Not everybody feels the same way. If somebody says, I don't want this type of information being presented to my audience, they are well within their rights to do so. That is their platform. If you want to do something different on your platform, then you go for it. But you don't have the right to go to somebody else's platform and say, I don't like the way that you're doing this, change it to suit my needs. Because honestly, that will just open, if I did that, for example, it would open me up to every person coming on here and being like, well, this is how you should do it, and this is how you should do it. And at no point will you ever make everybody happy. So no, I fully understand why she's like, nope, I don't believe in that. I'm not going to do that. Goodbye. So I don't understand this thought process of body positivity only being a space for fat women, right? There's a lot of different problems that I have with that idea. First being that, why is it only for fat women? Because men also can experience body dysmorphia. They can experience the negative side effects of diet culture, right? Anorexia in men is actually called bigorexia, I think. And bigmorphia, sorry. Body dysmorphia in men is called bigmorphia. And they experience it as well. Actually, for men, it's a lot of times underdiagnosed because men don't like talking about it quite as much as women do. So why are we excluding them from the talk? And you're talking about body positivity. You're not talking about fat acceptance. Body positivity is a more general term. It's not body positivity for people above this BMI range who identify as women, right? What about transgendered people? Do they not get counted in this movement? What about people who have loose skin? What about women who had horrific stretch marks after pregnancy? What about people like me? Sorry, I covered my mic a little. What about people like me? Because of my health complication, I had pelvic pain for an entire year. I got physical therapy for an entire year to get better. Am I not allowed in the body positivity movement? My body let me down. I was disappointed in it. I was saddened by it. Do I not get to be proud of my body? The body that I tried so hard to fix, the body that carried me through an entire year of me being disappointed and upset by it? Is this not a space for me either? This seems ridiculous. What about my sister, right? Can she be in the body positivity movement? She's not, she's not obese, she's not fat, but she has internalized issues with her body. She's lived as somebody who's been told that the tone of her skin wasn't fair enough to be considered beautiful. Does she not belong in body positivity because she's not fat? These rules are arbitrary, and more importantly, they're idiotic. If you want a space for just fat women, then there is actually a space like that. Body positivity is not that space. Everyone deserves to feel happy about their body, not just fat people. So the dietitian said that she's not causing any harm, and that if her journey causes you to feel upset, then you have some internal work to do. I would 100% agree with that. If I put up a picture of myself and I think that I look really nice in it, and someone comes up and says, well, you're wearing a yellow sweater in this, and don't you know that when you wear a yellow sweater, you make all of us who have a much cooler complexion and can't pull off that mustard yellow tone feel bad about the fact that we can't pull off a mustard yellow tone? You're being awful. No, ma'am, No. I'm talking about myself, and sorry, once more. I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about how I feel confident in my body and how much work it took for me internally to get to this place. And if I choose to share that with people, then that is my prerogative. If you have an issue with that, then you can do something on your own platform. But coming to my platform and telling me what I can and cannot share because of how it makes you feel, ma'am, that is not it. You cannot control the behaviors of other people. You cannot control the actions of other people. The only thing you can control is your own actions. So, if you see something online and it negatively impacts you, don't look at it. Question why it makes you feel that way. See if you can address those feelings. So she says next that, the dietitian is trying to foster a positive, peaceful space and that her comments don't spark that. You posted something, the dietitian did not want to see it. She blocked you and she deleted your comment. Then you decided to contact her again through a secondary source in a private message and harass her into changing her behavior that she obviously doesn't see eye to eye with you on. And absolutely 100%, if somebody's coming up to you and saying that, hey, you posting about your journey to feeling confident about yourself is upsetting me, and could you please stop? Yeah, that absolutely doesn't spark a peaceful reaction from people. Everyone has the right to share their journey. Everybody has the right to feel confident and happy in their body. And if it's making you feel some type of way and you come on to somebody else's post to talk about it and they don't want that they're once more, well, I feel like I am just preaching to the choir. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. It's their right to do as they please on their channel, on their platform, on their Twitter account, wherever. You want to do something different on yours? Go for it. So this researchers that she's claiming that the dietitian said that these researchers created the body positivity movement. I actually don't know because I can't seem to find any one source on who created this movement. If you guys have any sources, you could link down below. I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to learn about the origins of this movement. From what I've seen, it was created by a gentleman because he saw the way that his wife was being treated because she was heavier, and both him and his wife were white. He created the movement HAAFA, NAAFA, the National Advancement of Fat Acceptance, National Association. I can't remember right now. I swear I know this. It's in my Abby Sharp video if you guys want to go and watch it. But I talked about it in there, and I don't really know if that's correct. That's the information that I've been able to gather. If you guys have more credible sources, please do link them down below because I would love to know. But the second part of this comment about, they're taking it too far and that it's not necessary or effective, I really do have to agree with that. Now, as some of you guys may know, if you follow me on Twitter, I am, as Steve from SmokeySteveAndMarc would say, I'm a bedwetting liberal, okay? Always have been, I think, probably always will be. The thing is that in the wake of the US election, my partner and I had a pretty candid conversation where my thought process was, I don't want anyone to heal. I want them to understand, the other side, that we won, screw you, I get to be happy and I get to gloat now. And my partner, being the forever pragmatist, he's like, yeah, that's all cool and well, and you can do that if you choose to, but it's not productive and it's not helpful. Because if the other person isn't going to reach out and try and do something and fix this problem, and you don't reach out and try and do something and fix this problem, you're basically trapping both sides in a never-ending cycle. And it puts disproportionate work on you, but you should be the one to do something. You understand that there's a problem. The other side doesn't even understand. And maybe that generation is lost, but the generation that comes after, maybe your work can help guide them in the correct direction, and we can all evolve as a society. He is, like I said, forever a pragmatist. And so he said this to me, and I don't like hearing it, but it is very, very true. There's quite a bit of evidence suggesting that even with things like anti-vaxxers, the best way to approach them and talk to them is with compassion and with love. Dismissing them doesn't actually help at all. And that's essentially what the dietitian here is saying as well. By coming here and attacking somebody because they're not being the perfect ally from your point of view, you're essentially discouraging people from even trying. And that's ultimately doing significantly more harm than good. more importantly, if people feel like no matter what they do, how they approach a situation, they're always going to be seen as the bad guy, at some point, people are just going to stop trying. I'll give you a personal example. I've had a friend from college who we had a pretty severe falling out at the end of college. And we tried for a few years, both they and I would speak back and forth once every few months. And from my point of view, what I found was that no matter how much we talked about it, the hurt that was caused, and there was hurt, some of it on my part, some of it on theirs, we couldn't move past it. They couldn't move past it. I was willing to let it go. I was willing to just say that, hey, yep, some of this was my fault and I'm sorry for it and move on. They couldn't. It always kept circling back to that. And eventually we just had to stop talking altogether. And now we're no longer in contact. And it sucks. I wish I had my friend back. But at some point, you have to understand, I'm not getting through to this person. I cannot go back and undo the past. I cannot go back and change what's already happened. And if the way I am right now, imperfect as I may be, is not good enough, then that's all I have to offer. So if that's not good enough, then I guess I'm not good enough, and we can just stop doing this altogether. That's essentially what's going to happen in this situation too. This person is trying to be the best ally that they can be. You can tell them if they're doing something factually incorrect. By telling them that they can't share their story, by telling them they can't talk about this from their point of view, by essentially critiquing them and kind of bullying them into changing their mind, you're not making your case any stronger. What you're doing instead is pushing them to the other direction. And that's just going to reduce the number of allies you have. And once more, she's got 50K subscribers, you said? That's 50K people who she's going to tell that to. And that's maybe at least half of them, if they listen to her, are going to say, yeah, man, those people are crazy. Those are 2,500 people that now you've turned away, 25,000 people that you've turned away. Is that what you want? That seems so counterproductive and so ineffective. As Stephanie Yeboah once told Jamila Jamil, who then stole her words, body positivity stems from fat acceptance movement, which is more political than anything, and was created as a safe space for fat women to celebrate themselves as no one was celebrating us or seeing us, and all our interior amazingness for what we were. Now it's used as a marketing term and has forgotten about the very bodies that created it. Okay, so they talk about this a lot, about body positivity and fat activism being a political movement. But I've said this before, it's not. It's a social movement. There is no politician that's running on the platform of body positivity. There is no mention of it in the media. It's not like a hot button topic that two candidates are standing up there and arguing back and forth about in your television screens. It's not a political movement. There's no politics involved in it. It's a social movement. Body positivity and fat activism don't play into politics, and those are not its roots. So I don't know where this term comes from. People argue that body positivity is a political movement. It's just not. It's incorrect. That is an incorrect way to describe that movement. As for marketing, I don't know what to tell you, man. If you can make money off of something, people will make money off of something. That's just how capitalism works. That's how human nature works. If someone can exploit something, they will exploit something. And maybe that makes me a cynic, but hey, there you have it. Anti-diet dietitians are described by Harrison as utilizing evidence-based nutrition therapies to hone and honor your body's natural signals for hunger and satiety. They also deliver medical nutrition therapy needed to help people manage conditions like diabetes and celiac disease in ways that do not replicate diet culture in the care space. Except in some cases of eating disorder recovery, weight gain or loss is not a central part of anti-diet practice. It's about learning to listen, trust, and respect your body. These are all good things. But how do they go wrong in the context of body positivity, racism, and fatphobia? Harrison does mention that one of the shadiest moves of all time, diet culture, even includes people trying to sell the anti-diet movement as a weight loss method. She's right. Diet culture is gonna diet culture. But while those individuals she's mentioned are extremely predatory, they're not even the ones I'm maddest at or focused on at this moment. I'm mad at the anti-diet dietitians that sit in their photos to show their stomachs are skin folds. I'm mad at the ADDs that feign eating desserts or pizza or something equally demonized for pictures that they post with captions like, no foods are bad, or you don't have to work out to earn food. I'm mad at the ADDs who say you can still love your body and want it to be smaller. I'm absolutely pissed at the ADDs who stand in their mirror or on the beach to display their minor bloating or the small dimples in their thighs. They post before and after pictures a minute, a year, a decade apart to show how much better their bodies became once they quit dieting, or to show how even svelte bodies in spandex can be less perfect if they pull their waistbands down, and that no matter how many rolls they have, they're still the same fit women they always were. The white hot rage I feel when these women tell me to flaunt my body, that I'm still sexy no matter my size because they're sexy at their size in the position they feel fattest in. If you're an anti-diet dietitian and you do any of these things, brand my words in your mind. You are diet culture. There is no way to be a thin, white ADD and do all the things that I have described or screen grabbed above without promoting diet culture and fat phobia and whiteness. By portraying your miniature rolls and folds as things to love despite their existence, despite the way they distance you from perfection, you're not only saying that my fat body is inherently worse than yours, but you are subliminally communicating that folds and rolls are only okay and normal and sexy on a body like yours. So thin, so white, so unbearably conventional. And by implying that you are equally hurt by diet culture as a fat, black, or brown person is, you're just straight up lying for your own gain. When thin white women use their womanhood to invade the body liberation space while simultaneously benefiting from whiteness and thinness, they're violating the space to enrich themselves as anti-diet dietitian saviors who get it and have been there and can save you from yourself. They are committing a violation. They're being violent. They're hurting people in the way that white women have always hurt people. And by using anti-diet dietetics as both scientific legitimacy and a woke signal, they're protecting themselves from criticism and accountability while doing so. So this is a thing that really confuses me, right? She says that you are diet culture. Now, one of my biggest issues with Abby Sharp, if you've seen my Abby Sharp video, is that she lends her scientific credibility, her the position that her credentials afford her, to a movement like HAES and fat acceptance that I think is inherently problematic. I don't understand what the point of this particular article actually is. Are you saying that they shouldn't lend their voices? They shouldn't say something? If they don't say something, then your movement would not have any scientists, right? I looked up the stats. 75% of all dietitians are white and something like 93% of them are women. So if you don't want the vast majority of dietitians on your side, then you're going to be lacking a lot of scientific backing, even more than you already are. So you won't have anyone in your court with any amount of legitimacy speaking to this. And that's going to help your movement how? You can say just be quiet and let people who have the lived body experience talk about it. But fundamentally, this is not a movement about saying, hey, these are fat people, listen to them. This should be a movement, if my understanding is correct, about making sure everyone understands that being fat is not wrong. And wouldn't it be better if you had people who had the scientific learnings to be able to make that kind of a claim from a place of credibility? Just by saying don't talk is not helpful. Who else do you have in your court? So she makes this claim about how miniature rolls and folds distancing you from perfection, how despite that, you love yourself. I'm a little unsure here, but I think the point of Mikey, I'm going to say Mikey, I'm really bad at pronouncing names. And she says later on in the article that it's fine to call her Mikey, that despite the existence of these rolls and folds, here's my question. Is having excess body fat on your body not bad for you? Isn't being in good health perfect? I mean, I'm not saying everyone should strive for it. I'm not talking about this from the point of view of even just aesthetics, right? Physical beauty is very subjective. But if we're talking about the peak pinnacle of human perfection, wouldn't you say that would be someone who is in optimal health? And I mean, I think of optimal health and hell, I think of Michael Phelps. That's who I would look at. I mean, you want to talk about optimal health in women. Have you seen Venus and Serena? Their thighs are made of granite. That is optimal health to me. That is perfection to me. That is the absolute pinnacle of what a human body can do. When I look at somebody who is 400 pounds, I don't see somebody at the pinnacle of perfection. I see somebody with a lot of excess weight on them. And that's not to say that I think that they're a bad person for it, but I mean, physically, can you tell me that they can perform at the same level as somebody who is 180 pounds of muscle? Maybe this is really fatphobic of me. And if it is, please do let me know what your point of view here is. But if I'm thinking about the pinnacle of perfection of the human body, yeah, it would be somebody who is extremely, they're lean and well muscled, right? I'm not talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger competing in bodybuilding competitions, but I'm also not talking about, say, Amberlynn Reid. The second part of this is even more confusing to me because it just reads like projection. She's saying that you're subliminally communicating that rolls and folds are only okay on a body like yours. No one has ever said that. No one's ever even talked about you. No one said anything about another body at all. The only thing this person has said is that I feel comfortable in my rolls where I might not have felt comfortable before. That is it. She hasn't made any kind of an implication about anybody else's body. If you're seeing a connection there that they never meant, then that is a very internal process to you. So she has this collage of thin white women on the beach posing, and she says, do these bodies need to be uplifted? Do these bodies look abnormal to you? Okay. I want you to understand that you are the ones who've said that you can't look at somebody's body and judge their health, right? You said this multiple times about how the BMI scale is not an appropriate way to judge somebody's health. So I'm going to say the same thing back to you now. Looking at a thin person and saying they don't get to be in body positivity because they obviously don't have anything wrong with them is absurd and extremely hypocritical. You don't know if that person has had cancer. You don't know if that person is dealing with an invisible illness. You don't know if that person has internalized body dysmorphia. You don't know if that person comes from an abusive relationship where they've been made to hate themselves. You don't know anything about them. And all I'm asking from you is to give them the same level of courtesy that you want others to show you. You don't want to be judged on your exterior. And I don't understand how you can sit there and judge others on theirs and feel comfortable and morally superior. That is absolutely disgusting. Your body does not need uplifting. Body positivity is not for you. So is body positivity for me? Can I be in the body positivity community? I mean, I'm a woman of color. Sure, I'm fairly light-skinned, and yeah, I don't have a lot of body problems, right? I can wear clothes that I find at Macy's. So can I be in body positivity? Because I hit one of the check marks, but if I don't check off all of them, then I can't be in them. What about Chantal? Can Chantal be in body positivity? She cries a lot about bullies online, making fun of her because of her weight. But she's white, so does that mean she's excluded as well? So who gets to count in body positivity? Who qualifies to be in body positivity now? What about Stacey Abrams, right? Rock star human being that she is. Does she get to qualify? Or because she has her mobility, she doesn't qualify either? Then who gets to qualify? Who decides who qualifies for body positivity? Who decides who gets to decide who is in body positive movement, right? What about a war vet? What about a war vet who goes and unfortunately has an accident and loses a limb? Can they come back and can they be part of the body positivity community? Or no, because they were healthy enough to go to war, they don't count, right? What about somebody who had cancer they were 400 pounds, they had cancer, and they lost a tremendous amount of weight through no choice of their own, and now have a ton of loose skin and feel like their body betrayed them because they had cancer. Can they be part of the body positivity community? No, they can't, because they lost weight, so they can't be part of it either. Do you see what you're doing? You're finding one thing and you're essentially just saying, that's not good enough, get out. You're doing the exact same thing that the militant vegans do, right? If you accidentally ate a cracker that had honey in it one time, you're no longer vegan. Automatically, you're out. That's what you're doing. You're essentially just gating the community. And this is not going to win you any allies. It's not going to win you any widespread recognition. All it's going to do is it's going to create more people like me, people who are disillusioned with your movement, who have so many issues with it that even your overarching message of don't discriminate against fat people becomes something of a punchline. It becomes something that's ridiculed by others. And the fact that you don't see that is sad, because there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who would have benefited a ton from this kind of movement when I was a teen. So I come to the end of this, and what I want to say is I understand that being a person of color, being a BIPOC woman, as Mikey is, and being a person who is bigger bodied can be a difficult experience. I understand that it comes with trauma of its own. I understand there's going to be a ton of experiences that I have no lived experience with, right? There's going to be a ton of intricacies of her life that I'm never going to grasp because I've never lived through that. 100% sure. But if the entire message of this is who is and is not allowed, and gatekeeping and limiting and whittling down your support base, cutting out people one by one by one by one, you're going to be left with like 8 people in a tiny shed. Good luck getting your movement any kind of traction then. The reason why the Democratic Party has such a wide umbrella is to gather and garner as much support behind them as they possibly can, to give them as much traction as they possibly can. That's what you should be aiming for. Including people, not excluding people. And if you want a smaller subsect just for yourselves, then do it. Put it in fat activist, put it in BIPOC fat activist, put it in whatever you want. I don't know, come up with another hashtag. This is not my ball game. I'm not good at that. But you don't get to come to other people and tell them they're no longer invited in the club and to get the hell out. That's just my 2 cents on it. If you've got a differing view, please do leave it down below. I'm always open to discussion. And look, I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. That's just how it is. But I'm always open to learning. As always, give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. Give me a thumbs down if you hated it. Totally okay. Like I said, totally okay with everybody's opinion. Leave me any thoughts you have, especially on something like this. I'm really, really curious about your opinions on this piece. I'm going to leave the article link down below. Please do not go and give her any hate. Just read through it and come back here and tell me what you think. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. As you guys know, I'm trying to hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. Before December comes, I want to do a giveaway just in time for Christmas. You get something like a little extra present. And then I want to do another one at the end of December. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I upload right away. Share with your friends and save me from the horrors of the YouTube algorithm. I have all my social medias linked down below. I've got my Instagram, which is food and what I do on a day-to-day basis. Since I'm not doing anything right now, it's just food, sadly. I've got my Twitter where I occasionally pop off, and I'm probably a little bit more petty on Twitter than I should be. So if you guys want to see that from me, that's where you can find it. I also have all of like the updates for if my video is running late or something like that. That's also there as well. Also, that's probably how I'm easiest reachable. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing and you would like me to continue, or you have something that, you think that, hey, I want extras from her, because I do offer actually a lot of extras on my Patreon, please, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. I would really appreciate it. You would help fund more lights for my house. I don't know if you know this, but I like illuminating my house like the inside of the sun. every dollar you give me will be a dollar that will go directly towards my light bulb bill. Okay? Please help a girl out. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.